Okay, this is very important. This video is discussing how child support is evil. It's not about the children. It's not about doing anything but punishing the man. Now, this was bound to happen. Here, a man went ballistic after a disgusting anti-male divorce court judge, reamed him over unfairly in court. And of course, he took it in his own hands and took the judge's life, right? The three choices are men either work together to get rid of child support because it's evil, or most of them put their heads down and take the abuse and live out of their cars. And the odd guy like this actually takes the law into his own hands. Now, I'm going to prove to you that this is evil by contrasting the differences between how judges treat male fathers who pay child support with mothers who pay child support. And there's no comparison, a complete contrast. Now, listen to what this woman's attitude is when this man, who's in jail, by the way, he's in jail, can't pay his child support. Listen to her.
Now it's going up higher than what it was before. Because there's $800 a month for rent, $440.
I don't care, Mr. Lee, I don't care. Get a second job.
So see, this man he's unemployed right now. He doesn't have any ability to pay this. And what's the judge's attitude? What's the judge's attitude? It's like, not just get a job, get a second job, right? And he's saying this from jail. They jailed him. Well, the woman in this case, she's talking from her home, right?
We're on two things, a failure to hear and a failure to pay child support. So thanks here, you're ordered to pay $248 a month of child support. And as of today, we have an arrearage in excess of $6,260. So Mr. Lee, you understand in the state of Michigan, you can be charged with a 4-year felony for failing to pay child support?
Exactly. He can be charged 4-year penalty for not paying child support. They brought back debtor's prison. How is he going to pay child support if he's in jail? He can't. That's part of the evil and sadism of child support, right? And this woman, you'll find out, she is not threatened with jail time at all. Now, I got some timestamps, and this woman complains about her ex having it easy and how she can't. And up here, you'll see how the judge lowers her payments instead of increasing it. Remember, this guy had his payments increased when he owed, right? Now, let's see what we got here. 26. We'll get into it. 26. Get in here right about here.
What I would say is I've been making these good faith payments, even though I don't have the money to make those payments. Petitioner lives at home with his parents. To my knowledge, he doesn't pay rent. He doesn't pay the mortgage. He works full time. He makes twice what I make. His mom.
Now, guys, how many child support paying fathers will say his ex found a new boyfriend and lives with him rent free? It happens all the time, and the courts don't give a shit.
Is retired and stays at home and watches the children. Even before he established them in daycare, which is a daycare that he put them in that I wasn't notified about. And so
okay, we don't need to hear all it. She just basically saying, I can't afford all this. I can't afford all this. And we'll go to where the judge, what does she say? Does she say, get a second job to this woman? Where is it here? Yeah. Pretty well 31 minutes. Let's get up here. Does she say get a second job to this woman?
Concerns with that, that's not before the board today. I also very much sympathize with Ms. Gibson's position, if everything.
She very much sympathizes with this woman's position, right? That guy, she just said, I don't give a shit, get a second job. This woman sympathizes with her.
Assuming everything she's saying is accurate, then it is a difficult situation to be in, when you feel you don't have finances to cover one versus the other.
Well, it's a very difficult situation, right? That guy who didn't even have a job, who was in prison, it was even more difficult. And the judge didn't give a shit, did she?
So frankly, I think it was appropriate to make the decision to sell the home, because I don't know how Ms. Gibson, given the situation she's claiming to be in monetarily, how that would have ever worked.
Yeah, see, her financial situation is so dire. I don't see how it could have worked where they don't give a shit about how it works for the husband, do they? Right? Let me bring it back here. How much sympathy did this judge show this man who's in jail and doesn't have a job? Right? She showed zero, right?
And two, this is a pretty straightforward child support order, and it appears as though, while there's attempts, there's also a failure to be able to provide those, and unlike a lot of cases, it does appear that this has already negatively impacted the children in this case.
Yeah, I'll get more to that. I've got more timestamps. It's impacted the children negatively, yet she's going to lower the payment for this deadbeat mom.
With their removal from any daycare programs, because there's just no money to pay for that. And the lack of payment from the respondent. I'm not unsympathetic. I do think based on.
So the children are being harmed, but she's not unsympathetic to the mother.
The historical posture of this case, I am going to make a finding of contempt. I will. He's
finding for her. The mother put in the contempt. She's saying, I can't pay this. Help me out.
And I don't have, did you present an order on the contempt?
I did. Let's see if I can see what was filed. Filed July 11th. If you don't have a hard copy there, we can deal with presentation like when we come back in 2 weeks.
Okay. I don't have that. I am not, and what I'm, the back costs, the interest, standard costs. So the $46.90, the $319 interest, $70 in costs. I'll adopt all of that. At the civil sanction, I'm going to reduce to $500. And
she's reducing it to $500. I believe it was $700 before. She's reducing this woman's child support.
And the fees, I'm going to reduce to $1,500.
Wow, reductions all around from this deadbeat mom. Amazing, isn't it, guys? Amazing, right? Now, before we get into this article here, I want to look at one last thing. Let's see. Let's see. Mother pays a mere $50 a month. That's let's see, that's a 14. So she's been paying a mere $50 a month. She's getting away with it.
All right, so Ms. Baldwin, go ahead.
This is a very clear-cut matter of intent, but this is for failure to pay daycare fees as apportioned by the order of child support. That is a child support obligation.
When the court looks back at the record, you'll find that the court largely adopted Ms. Gibson's proposed statements about her income level and her proposed proportional share of the children's expenses. At that time, and throughout the case, essentially until this contempt was filed, Ms. Gibson repeatedly told the court that she could afford to pay all of her obligations so that she could avoid having the house ordered to be sold. Again, and it wasn't just that she could meet all of her obligations, she could meet those obligations and refinance the house in order to be able to avoid it being sold. So she said that she could refinance and increase what she was paying. This is what.
Can I give you what's going on here? She wanted to keep the house, but she realized she would have a reduced living style if she wanted to keep the house. So now she's changing her mind and getting rid of the house.
She told the court she was able to do. Now she comes before the court and says, oh, I can't pay it all. Let me make $50 a month payments, even though the obligation is somewhere in the hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Let me just pay $50 and not pay anything more. So which is it? You can't have it both ways in essentially a 6-month period of time. Either you can make all your obligations or you can't. And the reality is that Ms. Gibson will tell you whatever she thinks is going to get her what she wants on that day. I think it is no.
So they're admitting she's a liar. She's a true blue deadbeat, right? This woman will not be called a deadbeat.
Ms. Gibson previously had a second job. Now she quit that job.
She quit the second job so she could get her payments lowered. When guys do this, they get called out.
Job is not considered in her current income as set for the purposes of child support, so the court did not assess her to have that. She did have that historically. But again, it's undisputed. There's a court order for her to pay that my client kindly sent for the billings, and that she, for the vast majority of it, has paid. Her claims that there are, I've made $50 good faith payments, that is not good faith. That is please don't send me to jail, but it is absolutely, I'll pay what I want. So I'll just keep paying $50 so that you don't throw me in jail.
Now, this lawyer is explaining to this judge what this woman is actually about. This is before she made her ruling. So knowing that this woman is a deadbeat, this judge feels sympathy for her, and she lowered all her payments for her.
Not providing her bank statements. She's not saying, here's all the expenses I've cut out. Gee, I've cut my cable, my phone down to the bare minimum. I've cut this expense and that. Just none of that. It's sort of just, gee, I can't pay. I'm just going to throw my hands up and say that that's an excuse.
Exactly. She didn't sacrifice any of her lifestyle. Just like I said. That's why she wants to sell her house now and pay it that way. Meanwhile, guys get thrown in jail. This guy is speaking from prison, right? Matter of fact, maybe I'll find it because he says here that the day he got the court order, the police showed up. So they don't even give these guys a chance to do anything. They want men behind bars. That's what child support is all about, everyone. It's about abusing and torturing men. Okay? Now, one last thing here. Let's see. On the page. Proves child support isn't about children. 1834, good. Let's get up here. Because all this is about the children, disappears when the woman has to pay.
I'll just offset these things. It's not appropriate. But we do have 2 prior contempts in this case, one regarding finances, one regarding the parenting plan. This would be the third. There are very real consequences to the children of this action. The children have now been removed from daycare due to non-payment. That is a very real negative consequence that the children of this action now have to deal with, and that my client has to deal with, because he can't afford to manage everything on his own financially. The child support is a right of the children, and this is just saying, I'll do what I want. I'll pay what I want.
Yeah, the mother doesn't give a shit about the children. She knows they're not going to daycare. She doesn't care. Right? She doesn't care, so it proves that A, mothers do not have this mothering instinct that cares about children, and it proves that the judge doesn't give a shit about children because she lowered her payments.
Shrugging their shoulders at the consequences. And that is.
No, lady, she's not getting any consequences. She got rewarded. So there's nothing for her to shrug her shoulders to.
It's somewhat a disaster at this point, because it takes so long to have these matters heard. It's really a disaster of Ms. Gibson's making. She's done something that has financially harmed everyone and is actively harming the children. Daycare spaces.
Yeah, because she doesn't give a shit about children, lady. Mothers, they have children and they see them as properties. And if they're done with them, they're done with them.
Precious, and getting them back is a question mark on whether or not, even if she pays now, there may be now a waiting list where my client has to choose more expensive options because that's all that there is.
Yeah, so there's a waiting list for the children, and she doesn't give a shit about that, right? How far is it? 1940. Did I already get there? Yeah, exactly. So that proves that. Now that you guys can see the contrast between how women are treated when they pay child support and men are treated when they pay child support, let's get into this article. Well, guess what here? You see, this manhunt for this gentleman here, Pedro, how do you say his name? Argote? Argote? Exactly. Let's see. U.S. Marshals received an offered up to $10,000 reward, leading to his arrest. Gorte, is wanted in connection with the shooting of 52-year-old Washington Court Circuit Judge Andrew Wilkinson. Wilkinson was killed just hours after granting Gorte's estranged wife custody of their 4 children, and the Associated reports. Well, you see, so he gave all the children to him, so he doesn't get any of the children, right? It's not shared parenting either, everybody. See what here? Wilkinson ruled against Gorte, I'm screwing his name up, in his divorce petition against his estranged wife and ordered him to pay monthly child support and barred him from having any contact with his children. Argote filed for divorce in 2022, claiming that his wife wasn't supervising their children properly, so she stayed at home mom, leeching off him. He's the one who filed divorce, right? And rightfully so, and he's the one who gets punished, right? So this judge screwed him over. So this man pays a woman, gives her a free room and board, she leeches off him, and the kids get given to her, even though she's not a good mother. Because that's why he's divorcing her, because he doesn't take care of the children. And yet he gets penalized. The kids are put under her care, which is no care at all. And then he gets to pay and probably live in his car. Now we're going to end with one other thing, okay? This again proves it's not about the children, but punishing the man. Nova Scotia father who owes $250,000 in child support. Now, there is absolutely no reason to suggest that it takes $250,000 to raise a child. None whatsoever, right? Here's another one. BC man owes $500,000 in child support. So these are high-paying men who they sap so that they have no way of paying it. They agreed that his baseline income was $90,000, and he would pay almost $1,200 a month. Just thinking. So that's about $24,000 a year. Oh my God. Child support when it's over $150,000. Wow, incredible. So they are just paying tremendous amounts. They're bilking fathers. They're estranging them from their children and just bilking them for money to the point where a lot of them end up in jail. And then once they're in jail, they can't pay it anyway. So when they get out of jail, guess what happens? Now they have to pay everything that they're owed. They brought back debtor's prison for men, not for women, for men, because this woman didn't get debtor's prison, did she? She got her payments lowered by the sympathetic judge. Sympathetic because she's a woman. So this is why, guys, men go ballistic and take the law into their own hands. And the only real solution is that men start working together collectively to get rid of child support, not just make the system fairer. Get rid of child support. It has never been about the children. It's always been a source of evil in its purest form. This isn't exaggeration. This is me hyperboling, right? Child support is an act of evil. Period. Thank you.